You've heard the story and you've seen the black and white photos, but this entire narrative was fabricated by a convicted forger and sold to you by William Randolph Hearst, a man who owned a chunk of the American press, who wanted to keep the USSR out of the League of Nations and called Hitler the savior of Europe. In 1935, Hearst papers published Thomas Walker's eyewitness account of a Ukrainian famine genocide, complete with photos of emaciated children. But Walker's own travel documents prove he never even entered Ukraine, and the photos, mostly from the 1921 Volga famine. An investigative reporter exposed it and found out Walker was actually Robert Greene, an escaped Colorado convict with 3 decades of fraud convictions, including sex trafficking. After his ousting, his story collapsed in court, and the so-called genocide was widely dismissed as fabricated. That is, until it was conveniently resurrected during the Cold War, when anti-Soviet lies became very useful. Every academic source since traces back to this same discredited fraudster. So what actually happened? We have to remember that 82% of the population were peasants still tilling the land by hand. Meanwhile, capitalist kulaks owned swathes of land, hoarded the equipment, and leased it back at rates that kept peasants subservient. And with almost no party presence in the countryside, kulaks functioned as a ruling class. They hoarded grain, sold it at insane markups, and after the 1927 drought, the cities were running out of food. The Politburo was forced to seize grain to stave off famine in the cities that were being driven to rapid industrialization because the West and its proxies were already waging war. An increase in collectivization was part of the response. Peasants pooled their land and labor, and the state supplied the machinery. By 1929, collectivized farms matched kulak output, and the kulaks, well, they were pissed because their days of exploiting peasants for profit were soon to be over. And their response was to wage war against their own people. They murdered collective farm leaders, torched their own crops, slaughtered over 40 million horses and livestock, and as a result, food production collapsed. The party sent 250,000 members in, many of whom didn't make it out alive. But by 1930, order was restored, collectivization held, and the kulaks had lost. A lot of people died, but they did not die from communists intentionally starving them. And after the World War II induced famine, the Soviet Union never experienced famine again. I won't deny the mistakes, but I won't regurgitate a lie that serves the same people it always has, the same Cold War architects, the same people who drop bombs on innocent people today, the people that need you to believe that any alternative to their system must end in mass murder, because if you realized it doesn't, you might start asking why theirs does.